Jim Harbaugh and Michigan, they are in deep, and I mean deep trouble. All I'm going to say is, and I'm going to leave it at that, it's not looking good, and if I was a Michigan fan, I would be worried. The new college football rankings just came out. As I predicted in the video earlier today, you got Alabama 1, Michigan number 2, Georgia 3, Cincinnati 4. Everyone pretty much knew the 4 teams that were going to get in, we just didn't know the exact order. I agree with it 100%. Alabama proved they're the number 1 team in the country by beating what everybody thought was the best team and one of the best defenses in the past 10 years. Michigan has had an outstanding season. Don't take anything away from them guys. However, they haven't played the level of competition like Alabama has. When you break it down, both teams went 12-1 and won their conference championships very handily. They also lost to 2 not so great teams by 3 points and 4 points. It's pretty much even, it's 1A, 1B. The biggest difference is the strength of schedule, therefore Alabama gets the nod. Below those 2 powerhouses, we have Georgia and Cincinnati. Not really a shock to anybody. Cincinnati, you went undefeated, great season, but you don't deserve to be ranked ahead of Georgia. Let's not be recency biased and take away from what Georgia did this entire season. They dominated. It's kind of sad when you think about it. Georgia had this great season, but Alabama literally ripped their hearts out and stomped on it. Everyone's forgetting how great they were all throughout the year. Don't forget that. Remember, this is still a top 4 team. Georgia has some of the best players out there. They have 4- and 5-star recruits everywhere. Their biggest problem is the quarterback position, and that's a different video for a different day. Despite the college football playoff rankings coming out, we're not going to focus on that in today's video. The main topic is Michigan, and they don't have a slight problem or an average problem. They have a major problem. Jim Harbaugh and Michigan, they are in deep, and I mean deep trouble. All I'm going to say is, and I'm going to leave it at that, it's not looking good, and if I was a Michigan fan, I would be worried. We're going to talk all about it and dive deep into detail on what's going on with Michigan and the program. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, join the family, leave a like for more, do all that nice stuff. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. I know exactly what you're sitting there thinking and saying to yourself. Yo, Matt, what's going on? How is Michigan in trouble? It has a lot to do with the same reason Georgia was in trouble. Going into the SEC championship game, you had Alabama, who's dominated college football over the past 10 years, yet they were getting disrespected. Every fan in the country, every analyst in the country, except for me, was predicting Alabama to not only lose, but lose by maybe 2 or 3 touchdowns. I could go on and on. There's only one word to sum it up. Alabama was flat out being disrespected, and Nick Saban was preaching that to his guys. On the flip side for Georgia, you had a team who has a huge ego. They haven't had a close game all year, and they've never even trailed. Georgia faced not even little. They faced 0 adversity all season. To top that off, I want to speak on this because nobody brings it up. I don't think Georgia was taking this game as serious because they knew if they lost, they was like, you know what? We're undefeated. If we lose to Bama, it's okay. We're going to get in the playoffs. I think that had a lot to do with it. Not just in sports, but in life in general. When your back is against the wall, you typically perform better. If you don't believe me, let me ask you a question. Are you going to be more inclined to go to work if you have $1 in your bank account or $10,000 in your bank account? Exactly, that's what I thought. If you only have $1 in your bank account, you're going to hustle and try to get some more money. But if you got $10,000, you're going to relax. Georgia did just that. I'm not saying they didn't play hard. Of course they played hard. But I don't think they took it as serious as Alabama did. Throwing it back to the Alabama side, you had a team who was pissed off with all the critics, rumors, saying they haven't played good. And they knew if they didn't win this game, they weren't getting in the playoffs. I'm not too scared of many things in life. If I was a college football coach, I'd be scared of one thing. And that thing is a underdog Alabama team with a mad Nick Saban. Hold on. What does all this Alabama and Georgia talk have to do with Michigan? I'm getting there. Michigan is in deep trouble because you got the same situation with Georgia and Alabama, but the roles are reversed. You got a Michigan team who's feeling pretty good about themselves and they're on their high horse. But on the other hand, you got a Georgia team who got embarrassed and everybody's talking about how bad they are. Out of all the 4 teams in the playoff, the team I don't want to play is Georgia. Not Alabama, it's Georgia, because they got a chip on their shoulder and they got something to prove, which they didn't have in the SEC championship. It's not quite as simple as saying Georgia's got something to prove. There's way more to it. The Michigan-Georgia game is a terrible matchup for Michigan. Here's why. What does Jim Harbaugh and Michigan pride themselves on, and really the best thing they're at? Running the football. I hate to inform you, Harbaugh, Michigan, the entire Michigan program and fan base, you're not running the ball on Georgia. It's not going to happen. Let me rephrase that. You can run the ball, but you're not going to be productive. Georgia held Alabama's running back Brian Robinson, who's good, to 16 carries for 55 yards. That's not good. Alabama's best running back in the game was their quarterback, Bryce Young. He had 3 carries for 40 yards. What's the recipe to beat Georgia? Going off of what we saw, you gotta pass the ball. What is Michigan bad at? Passing the ball. Out of all the 4 teams in the playoffs, Michigan and Georgia has the 2 worst quarterbacks. Michigan's quarterback is Cade McNamara. It's kind of hard evaluating his game. Here's why. Okay, it's not really hard. It's extremely similar to Stetson Bennett. He hasn't been put into a big-time moment or pressure situation all year. I understand they beat Ohio State, but the running back helped him out a lot. He didn't have to do that much. Let's look at the facts here. In the Ohio State game, I don't think he played bad. I think he played good, but he was only 13 for 19, $150 with 0 touchdowns to 1 interception. You're not going to beat Georgia putting up those numbers. To beat Georgia, your quarterback's got to throw over 300 yards, at least. If I had to rank the quarterbacks, I would say 1's Bryce Young, 2's Ritter, 3 is Cade McNamara, and 4 is Stetson Bennett. I don't believe in Stetson Bennett. I'm not going to go on a rant. You know how I feel about him. I think he's mediocre at best. He makes some good throws, but the good throws doesn't make up for all the terrible decisions and costly interceptions he throws. On the other hand, for McNamara, while I'll give him the nod over Bennett, is because he's almost reminds me of A.J. McCarron, who played for Alabama. He's a game manager that also can make the big-time throws, and I will say, I think McNamara could win him a game if he had to. He hasn't had to do it yet, but I think he has a better shot than Stetson Bennett. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about him. Overall, he's a game manager that can be good at times. I think his potential is a good quarterback, and he's typically slightly above average. He's only had 1 game this year. Yes, 1 game with over 300 passing yards, and that was against Michigan State. If you don't think that's concerning, he's only had 4 games with over 200 passing yards. I'm not going to evaluate his whole season. Let's take a look at his 5 most recent games. Against Indiana, he was 10 for 18 with $160. Against Penn State, 19 for 29, 200. Maryland, 21 for 28. Ohio State, 13 for 19, and Iowa, 16 for 24. In all those games, he has a decent completion percentage, but he's never thrown the deep ball. He doesn't stretch the field like Bryce Young did against Georgia. He'll throw a deep shot here and there. He's really good off of the play action. I do like that about his game. Cade is also really good at getting the tight ends involved. Of course, Michigan, they're going to do that. Harbaugh loves using tight ends. I just have a hard time believing this Michigan offense, who is good and high-powered, is going to move the ball against Georgia effectively. Georgia's front 7 is one of the best in the past 10 to 15 years. Where you're going to beat this team is in the secondary. Michigan, they're not going to do that. I'm asking you a legit question. In his last 2 games against a good Ohio State team and a below average Iowa team, he was 13 for 19, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. Against Iowa, he only had $150, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Do you think he can put up those same numbers and beat Georgia? I don't think so. If he puts up those numbers in the past 2 games against Georgia's defense, Michigan's going to get blown out. I don't want to repeat myself, but I feel like I have to. You're not running the ball on Georgia. Jordan Davis is a monster, and he plugs up the hole. He's like 2 to 3 people. Okay, I got a better way to put it. You have to have a Heisman-level quarterback to even think about beating Georgia. Cade McNamara ain't no Heisman contending quarterback. He's done a good job this year. I want to give him his credit. He's done nothing more than manage the games. Almost anybody could do that and look good. If you don't believe me, look what happened with Stetson Bennett. You had some people out here saying he should be up for the Heisman, and then after the Alabama game, everybody's like, oh yeah, Matt was right, he sucks. Stetson Bennett doesn't suck, he's just not a good quarterback. He's average, sometimes good. If you're a Michigan fan, I wouldn't be feeling too good. As a matter of fact, I'm more confident that Georgia's going to beat Michigan than Alabama's going to beat Cincinnati. Georgia's mad, and here's the thing. You don't want to give somebody a second chance at life, and Georgia, they got a second chance. The way it's looking and the way I'm predicting it right now, You're going to have an SEC rematch in the finals. Everyone's going to be mad about it, but if they win, what can you do about it? They've proved they're the best two teams. I'm excited. I don't care who wins. It's going to be a good one. We'll see what old McNamara's got. Can he prove me wrong and throw for 300, maybe 400 yards? I guess we'll have to wait and see. Let me know what you think's going to happen down below. Whoa, hold on. Before you criticize me, remember, I was right about the Alabama-Georgia game, so keep that in the back of your mind. But with all that being said, that's going to wrap up this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys learned something. If you're new to the channel, what are you doing, man? Hit that subscribe button. You're not subscribed, that'd be great. Are you tripping? No, I'm just playing, but if you want to join the family, I appreciate it. And as always, leave a like, do all that. I'm out, y'all. Let's be great. Peace.